Hundreds attend Third No Kings rally in downtown Hot Springs. The Sentinel Record, Sunday, March the 29th, 2026. This is the article. More than 600 people were estimated by organizers to attend Saturday's No Kings rally at Hill Wheelers Plaza, but no counter-protesters were observed. Kelly Graff, the Democratic candidate for Arkansas Secretary of State, was among those at Saturday's rally. The Rosebud native said that she is invested in this community. Honestly, I've gotten to know the people of Garland County, and I'm here as a means of support for some of the folks that have been supporting me, she said. I'm invested in Garland County, frankly, because I believe there's a lot of energy here and there's a lot of people who maybe don't feel like they have a voice. I want to be here to support that. While not surprised by the number of attendees at the rally, Graff says she was pleased at the diversity. I was expecting it to be a good crowd just because of the energy right here. But I think it's awesome, she said. And I think it's so amazing to see the diversity here because there are people that run all ages of the government. We've got every color and every creed. I think that part is very beautiful. And Mark, you had something to say later in the same article.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I'd like just to comment on what you just read.
We can do that now.
Yeah. The two of us were at this rally, and I'm going to read a little bit more of what the article that Elmer is reading from. They quoted me in there, and they also mentioned this, which is our new MADA symbol. We thought, well, you know, and this might seem a little harsh to some folks out there. I hope I'm not offending anyone when I say we don't have an orange Satan to, direct our cult. So we are starting a new cult of We the People, which is everybody in the United States of America, however you vote, whatever your political affiliations are, we don't care. What we care about is that you are like us and that you support the idea of what this stands for, which is Make America a Democracy Again.
Make America a democracy again. That's what this is all about.
So we thought we would try something here and see how this takes off. We're hoping that it becomes a nationwide phenomena. Who knows, maybe a lot of people who support us around the world would be happy to have us share these with them in the European nations and other countries around the world, anywhere actually in the world, where people are in favor of democracy, and in particular democracy in the United States, because of so much of the history of the almost 250 years. We almost made it to July 4th of this year when we declared our independence 250 years ago.
We're looking forward to that.
Yes. We declared our independence. America started out kind of great, but we had a lot of flaws. We all know about them. They were pretty severe and serious. Elmer, we started out in a country where the oligarchs were running the country back then. They were all citizens of Great Britain. We call England most of the time. And the king was directing our laws and statutes and behaviors, and the local governors and so forth that the king sent over to run us. And at that time, slavery was legal in the colonies.
It was a way of life. It was a way of life.
Yeah.
Part of the roots.
And further
in
noting,
America.
not to get too far off the topics that we're on today, because we're really celebrating No Kings and we really want to make that our kind of central focus. Just want to mention that, the oligarchs of the day, George Washington being one of those people, he was one of the richest people in the country, if not the richest person. And he was very much oriented towards creating the Continental Army. And the reason they wanted to call it the Continental Army is because they wanted to overtake the entire North American continent, which we call the United States and Canada and Mexico these days, but back then it was, you know, a lot of native nations, the people that were here first before our European ancestors showed up, were populating the land, and sadly, our founders, including George Washington, were in favor of eradicating those people, getting them off the land, and we committed a lot of terrible acts during the Revolutionary War while we were fighting the British. So it was the Loyalists and the Patriots. The people that lived to become Americans were the Patriots, and the Loyalists were those who were supporting the homeland. And anyway, so they were aggressively killing British people and Loyalists and Native Americans at the same time. Just wanted to mention that little history there, because a lot of people I don't think are that clear on that subject.
It's great to be reminded of this.
Yeah.
There were human beings here before 1607.
So we invite all of you, now going back to our more current conversation, but all of this history is important. We want to remind you to make America a democracy again. Whether you buy a hat and t-shirt or not, if it's in your soul, that's great. We love it. We're going to make a link on our website. We want you to subscribe to us, by the way, and we also want you to, if you want to get a t-shirt or a hat or both, to contact us. But getting back to No Kings, if you will, a couple of things that I wanted to emphasize from the march is that people, the main groups putting on the march around the nation, we had over 3,300 in the United States of America.
Rallies.
And we had somewhere around 8 or 9 million people, the largest rally in the United States history.
Larger than either one they had before. This is our third, and this is the largest one of the three.
1 was the largest, 2 was the largest, 3 larger still, and now a new record. And we're going for 4, 5, 6. We're going to keep going. But our goal was to get 3.5% of the population to come out.
You got some figures on that.
We do. So let's put it this way. When 3.5% of people oppose a dictatorship, the dictatorship is doomed to fail. So we want to let people know out there, if you are supporting dictatorship in the United States of America, your days are numbered. The majority of people are just totally opposed to what's going on in our country right now.
We're simply saying no kings in this country.
No kings. And what I want to point out is there an estimated around 170 million registered voters in the United States of America. And what that means is that on Saturday, what was the date? No, March 29th.
29th.
There were somewhere between, with that number, 4.7% and 5.3% of the nation's registered voters at those rallies. That is a game-changing number, because we were shooting for 3.5%, we're up to 4.7 to 5.3. And furthermore, if you just look at the number of people who are old enough to vote, that's 18 years and over, who reside as citizens of the United States in our country, we came to 3.43% of that number. So there are more people who are eligible to vote who are not registered, of course, than the number who are actually registered to vote. Registered about 170 million, actual possible registered voters 242 million. That's a disparity of about 72 million people. And if you're not registered to vote, you're part of that group that is having more of an effect and an impact on our voting system than the rest of us have, because that's like a huge percentage of the total number of people who actually vote.
We're going to talk more about that as this podcast continues. I want to make a note of a correction here. Saturday was the 28th. The date of the discussion of the story was March the 29th. Saturday was the 28th, the day of the rally.
Nice. Perfect correction. Thank you. I stand corrected, and you are absolutely right. Yes, the day of the rally was the 28th of March. The article what we're reading from is from the 29th. Yeah, good job, Elmer. Thank you. Okay, so going back to the article in the Sentinel Record from March 29th, 2026, on Sunday, the day after the No Kings rally, which Elmer was reading from just a bit ago. I wanted to remark on a few more things that were in our local paper about the No Kings rally here in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Now we can see a lot of similar stories from all around the nation, and big cities and small towns all over the place, rural towns that are considered often very red or leaning very much. A lot of people on the far right used to be really strongly in favor of our First Amendment rights to free speech and the freedom of the press. Anyway, he said, "I think everybody here has somewhat of an agreeing opinion. We might all disagree on some things, but we can all agree that the Constitution ought to be upheld."
Amen.
Going back to democracy again. The Constitution, again, ought to be upheld. And Otero says that includes all parts of the Constitution. His wife, Brianna Otero, said, "Many of the area's organizers are looking to pass the torch to younger generations," which was a big reason why we came out, and there were a lot of young people there.
Yeah, you see them there too.
Yeah.
Many of them in high school.
I've heard similar stories from around the country from different people at different rallies all over the place, saying that more and more young people, and in particular a lot of, and importantly, young white men. Of course, young white women were out there earlier, but now they're coming back into the fold. Then it comes down here and it says, Mark London, that's me. What did he say? He said, he was happy to see the number of people at the rally, especially in a state and a country that tend to be more Republican.
It does.
I think a lot of people who live here thought we were all MAGA types, but we're not, he said. And a lot of people probably voted for Trump once or twice and maybe 3 times. But they're here now because they've changed their minds. They've realized that what he promised them isn't happening. Release of the Epstein files being one of the big things. And no, not going to get us into any foreign wars or complications. He told us all that.
Gas, the price of gas is the same for all parties.
Speaking of gas led us all into believing that he wasn't going to start a war. Then he started out bombing a bunch of innocent people. Well, we bombed Nigeria, and he bombed like 8. He says he created peace in 8 countries. That's complete BS. It didn't happen. He's not responsible for any conflicts anywhere. But he keeps saying it, so people go, oh yeah. Which 8 are those again? Some of those are still ongoing. Some of them didn't happen. It's just another load of baloney. How's that for a nice way to say it? Yeah. So anyway, what else did I say to the paper? Sporting a T-shirt and hat that read MADA. That would be me and my friend Elmer. On the front, and Make America Democracy Again on the back. London said he attended the rally to celebrate the democracy that we'd like to get back. I feel like our country has been taken over virtually by a dictatorship, and our president has ignored the Constitution in every way possible. He's selling off everything. That's even if it's nailed down. He's selling it to the highest bidder. For his own personal gain. Taking us to war for no reason, attacking people out floating around in the Caribbean without any justification, no due process, Elmer. Due process is the core of this country. It's what makes everything work. We recognize that everybody is equal under the law, even though we've never achieved that, goal. It's always been an assertion or an aspiration that we've made, and we've tried to give everybody due process and the rule of law. and treat them evenly.
This is kind of field practice for his kingships that he's expecting to obtain.
Yeah. So I also said to the paper, we want to improve the way laws are executed, the way taxes are distributed, and I think we need to claw back the tax breaks for the rich and start helping people with no money, regular people.
Sounds like democracy in your voice and in that language and in that land.
And then my friend Deb Fuller, our friend Deb Fuller, she runs, we live in Hot Springs. There's another town north of us. It's more of a private gated community. The residents there tend to be a bit older, probably on average. But our friend Deb Fuller is actually quite a bit younger than I am. Is the co-lead of the Hot Springs Village Coalition, and she was one of the many people who took to the microphone during the rally, and what she said was, "We are facing the most brazen rollbacks of civil rights in our history."
Excellent remark. So true, so powerful, to my regret.
Yeah.
I pray that all that I gave was not in vain.
She said during her speech, "Our voting rights are under attack. Our social services are being gutted. A woman's right to choose is under siege. Our neighbors are disappearing. Our freedom of speech is under assault. Warmongering is on the rise." Fuller called for the crowd to be encouraged by the number of people attending similar rallies across the country. This gathering is part of 3,000 plus rallies. I'm saying about 3,300. Protesters organized actions across our country and across the world today, she said. "We are joined with hundreds of thousands, might I even predict millions," which turns out to be correct. Probably 9. I'm thinking the numbers are probably going to get closer to 10 million for Saturday's event. And there's no doubt that it was record breaking. It takes a while to do the tabulations on all these things. She says, "I even predict millions of woke culture warriors at this very moment, happy to learn about another's purpose of taking peaceful, nonviolent action."
We want to underline it was peaceful. There was hope from our opponents that there would be some disruptions, but it was peaceful.
Yeah.
We have been through this before, many of us in the 60s and 70s, 80s, so being peaceful protesting is nothing new to us.
Right. Yes, totally agree. Challenging injustice and creating meaningful change together. So there we were with a lot of people that we knew and a whole bunch of people that we'd never seen before who came to the rally. They said 600 in the paper. I'm thinking it was north of 700 people who showed up. And of course people were rotating in and out. Some people couldn't stay for the whole function, but they came and spent a few minutes and left, and then more people came in. So yeah, we were all there together. It was a great crowd for our small town of Hot Springs.
Voter registration was taking place at the same time in that same rally.
Yeah.
I noticed that. I have to make that point.
Thank you for bringing that up, and let's just keep
Bringing
that up. Impeach, convict, remove, vote. Maybe we'll get a little chant going.
You get it going. You got to register to vote.
Yeah. So the rest of what Deb said was pretty good. More than anything, it helps people see that there are other people who feel the way they do, and it gives them an opportunity to band together and stand up, she said, noting the events should be a catalyst. And that's true. I mean, people get to meet each other. They go, "Oh, I didn't know. Oh, you live in here. Oh, yeah. Oh, we live not too far apart. Maybe we should get together. Let's talk. Let's have coffee. Let's be part of a group. Let's call. Hey, how about calling your Congress people and your senators and I don't know, how about the White House and tell them to get out?"
The increase in the price of gas, the increase in the price of groceries, and nonpartisan, excellent point that we have to make.
Thank you for making that point, because this last spike in gas prices, which has exceeded $1.04 a gallon as of yesterday, in the last month, is the steepest and fastest increase in gas prices in history. Never happened before. You know, we got this guy up in the White House always talking about it. Never happened. It's nothing. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. You know, it's whatever. And yeah, thanks, Don. Appreciate it. Yeah, we love just emptying our bank accounts and putting them into our gas tank so we get to work. It's great. Our Constitution says the power is in the people. This is Deb Fuller, still quoted in the paper here. Our Constitution says the power is in the people of the state. Oh, wait a minute. Is that? Oh no, I digress. We're finished with Deb Fuller, but our current Secretary of State candidate, Kelly Grapp, is further quoted, and she praised the people who gather for protests and rallies. More than anything, it helps people see that there are other people who feel the way they do, and it gives them an opportunity to band together and stand up, she said. That's Kelly Grapp saying that. Noting the events should be a catalyst. I think that's fabulous. And she also says, our Constitution says the power is in the people of this state, and you only get that power, though, when there are enough people to make a difference. And I would like to point out that there were enough people to make a difference.
That was what we were trying to do on Saturday at the Hill Weekly Plaza.
If we allow this to be a catalyst and then people form relationships here that can go and then build collective power to go get to the ballot box and change things.
May 1st, 2026. That's rehearsal day for November. Register and vote. Stay home. Let's make a difference and make a dent in the economy. May 1st. No, nothing day. I love that double negative.
So, one of the big things that's happened in our recent history, of course, as we are all very aware, hopefully, the United States of America is at war.
We are at war.
One of the justifications for having gone to war, although the president even didn't bother to tell us that he was planning to go to war in his State of the Union address several days ahead of that, failed to mention, I think he briefly mentioned Iran. His and our, I guess, sadly, Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, informed Congress, if you watched that testimony, you would have seen her sitting there, telling the questioners, and one of them was John Ossoff from Georgia, who was one of the senators who was came into office and was his victory was tabulated after the election of 2020, and then that gave us a slight majority in the Senate. Yeah, which we no longer have at the moment, but I hope that's all going to change in November. The numbers are swinging dramatically towards democracy. If you do have one of these shirts or a hat, or just the idea in your mind that democracy is important, we are vastly in the majority. For example, 69% in the recent poll of Americans say they are opposed to the war in Iran and the current president's conduct.
This includes Democrats, Republicans, and nonpartisan people.
Yes, it does. Yeah. So one of the things that a lot of us tend to suspect is that one of the reasons that Tulsi Gabbard testified, I forgot to mention, she said that there was no evidence that Iran was posing any immediate or any near-term threat from a nuclear perspective, as she's the Director of National Intelligence right now, and that they weren't in any, the Iranians were not in any position to, within 10 years or so, to even have the capacity to build the rockets that would be sufficient to deliver a nuclear warhead, and they still don't have enough fissionable material to create a bomb.
We wonder how we get here to a war if she's in charge of the intellect, the intelligence about the chances are out. being in danger, or
That's right. Yeah. Why didn't the president and the rest of the cabinet, our Secretary of War, which is really the Secretary of Defense, but he's acting like a Secretary of War, and he just wants to crush, kill, bomb him back to the Stone Age, as Trump says also. But a lot of us suspect that it might have a lot to do with the Epstein class, more than nuclear weapons. And, you know, the child rapists and child traffickers in charge of our country, many of whom, including the president, are definitely closely related to Epstein and his behaviors. A convicted child rapist and sex trafficker, money launderer, etc.
I simply think Trump wants to put that case completely behind us to the extent that we forget it has happened, pretend that it didn't happen. So we have a war blocking all that out. But what is, and we can't change our history. It's there.
Yeah. Right. And all of those folks in the Epstein files are all getting off scot-free, Elmer, except for a few people in England. I think France is very interested in prosecuting anybody that was involved in their country with Epstein, because this was a worldwide criminal enterprise. The trafficking and abuse and rape of children and young women. Horrible behavior. And so anyway, just wanted to bring that back into perspective. That probably the reason that we're at war doesn't have anything to do with nuclear weapons, since there aren't any. I think I recall our president saying back last summer when the United States sent our big B-52 bombers over to bomb the, what did he say? The total destruction of the nuclear capability of Iran last summer.
Last summer.
Yeah.
We did hear that.
And then they haven't really made any progress on getting that all put back together before we decided to bomb them last month. So we're at day number 33 of the war, I think, something like that.
Close to it at least.
Okay, so the war, nobody really wants that. And so let's talk about another subject, Elmer. What do you say?
We got on our list here. May Day is coming up. May Day is the first day of May, and on that day, it is planned by those who have been responsible for the first three rallies to be a day of nothingness, if I may. No school, no shopping, no spending money, sending a message to the United States of America government that we want to preserve our democracy. If it takes no spending of money to get the attention to those in power, that is the day we want to send that message. May 1st, 2026. No, nothing. Oh, that's a double negative, but let's keep it in mind that stay home, don't work, don't spend any money, and let the gas pump be free of our hands. Just keep it simple. May Day, no nothing. Stay at home, protest. Excellent point. We'll be emphasizing this between now and then. We got about 29 or 30 days left.
Yeah, I think that's a really great nationwide protest effort. If you can stay home from work, if you can stay home from school, if you know, not everybody can do this, understood, but the degree to which you can do no online or if physical shopping, don't go to the grocery store, don't put any gas in your car, you know, if you can be prepared around before that.
Excellent.
You know, don't put yourself at risk, but do this as much as possible. Then all of us together will be able to collectively make a huge impact on the oligarchs, the big billionaire tech bros that are orchestrating all of this dictatorship that we're being subjected to right now. They will feel it, and they will hear and recognize that, oh man, there were a lot of people who didn't go shopping. Their feedback is very quick. You know, it's all computerized, so they know how much they sold that day or didn't sell.
Be an excellent day to register somebody to vote, or remind them to go register to vote. Perfect day for that. A day of voter registration in the United States of America. Make it record breaking. May 1, registration day for voting. We have to carry this energy into November. Otherwise, we are playing with ourselves to the extent that it's going to be a waste of time if we can't see the benefits of it in November. This is relative to November. This is a practice for November. November is election period again.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that we're all quite well aware of is the fact that this current regime, I think it's fair to call it a regime, this dictatorship run by I'm sorry, to be a little bit harsh, I'm going to say loser, liar, con man, and convicted criminal con man in chief. The guy who's got the 47th presidency is really doing everything that he can to subvert the elections to support him, to save him from being impeached and convicted and removed from office. And the vast majority of people would like to see that happening, Elmer.
I'm looking forward to having a conference with the Garland County Election Commission chair.
Yeah.
Because it's somebody that I trust, and I want to hear from him what's his thinking and attitude toward the president saying in the last election, if you vote for me, you won't ever have to vote again. I need clarification on exactly what that meant regarding the party that he represents. I'll be giving a report on that in the next podcast.
Well, I think fair to say that, let's see, back in 2021, I think it was January the 6th, our current president orchestrated, led, and encouraged an insurrection against the capital of the United States.
It's part of our history that we can't
He
deny,
said,
can't change.
We're going to go march down to the Capitol. You're going to have to fight like hell. You're not going to have a country anymore. You know, Mike Pence is not going to make the right decision. He's going to do his duty according to the Constitution. We don't want that. We want to, you know, impose our will. We won this election. Oh, it was fraudulent. Well, fascinating problem there, Mr. Trump. You're the president of the United States now. Back then, he was the president of the United States on January 6, 2021. Joe Biden hadn't been sworn in until January the 20th. And he sent his people down there to wreck the Capitol. They defecated, they urinated, they took Confederate flags in there. They badly injured many police officers. Yeah. And 7 of them ended up dying. 1 of them from injuries the following day, and others just from suicide and other things. They were so distraught because they had never imagined anything that terrible happening in the United States of America. The last people that jumped into the Capitol and lit it on fire was in the War of 1812. The British came in and attacked our capital. Since then, no one had been in there for a hostile purpose of takeover and destroying, subverting the effect of the election, which both the Attorney General, Bill Barr, said there's nothing there. All your stories about the election being taken over and fraudulent, he said to the President of the United States, all of that is bullshit. That's a direct quote. And his...
the Orange King, President Trump referred to them as patriots.
Oh yes, the people that stormed the Capitol. Oh yes, let's not forget the first day in office in this last election, January 20th, 2025. One of his first acts was to sign a pardon for 1,500 or so people, all of whom had been convicted of performing an insurrection against the Capitol. Keep in mind that they were all shouting out there, "Hang Mike Pence." And thank God for the courage of Mike Pence. I never was a fan of Mike Pence until that day. On that day, he rose to the occasion and he did the right thing. And
he did the right thing. He gained respect for those who love our democracy.
But so many Congress people and senators, and keep them in mind when you go to vote in November, they voted not to certify the election of 2020, even though Chris Krebs, we already mentioned Bill Barr, Chris Krebs was the director of cybersecurity in the Trump administration. In his first term. He was handpicked by Donald Trump to run that department. Said this is the safest and fairest election, 2020, that we've ever had in the United States of America. And that is totally against what his boss wanted him to say. But he said it anyway, not because he was like a closet Democrat or something, but because he actually was in charge of cybersecurity, ran the numbers, paid very close attention to all the details of what happened around the United States in that election, and he found it to be free, fair, and safe, and the best in our history.
That's what he said.
And let's keep in mind, too, that subsequent to all of that, Donald Trump instigated 64 cases to refute and deny the results of the elections in key states, that if he could reverse those outcomes, he could have then taken back the election from Joe Biden, who was legitimately elected. But he was unable to prevail in any of those cases. There was one small exception in Pennsylvania, which had to do with the timing of some of the ballots that were printed. Everything else was thrown out, refuted, denied. Trump lost every single case. Why did he lose those cases? Because a lot of the judges that he went up against were Trump-appointed judges.
Trump-appointed judges.
They would love to have seen him. They probably, I'm sure they voted for him. Why would they want to rule against him unless they were just following the rule of law, Elmer?
That's what happened. They told the truth.
Yeah. And one more last subject that we're on here. We're on a roll. Let's go back to No Kings. Just that was such a great day, and we're going to have more of these. And the protests are succeeding. So be heartened, be hopeful, be ready to stand up. Those people out there all had courage to say no kings.
No kings.
And you can have the same courage. Just say it in your mind if you need to. Talk to your friends and neighbors. Talk to somebody who disagrees with you every once in a while and say, no kings.
If you fail to register to vote, it can imply that you are favoring kingship in this country of the United States of America. So register, get your friends registered, get your enemies registered, talk to them at the drugstore, talk to them at church, talk to them at the laundromat, at the service station. Just be reminded that on May the 1st, that is a No Kings Rally Day at home. Stay home.
Yep.
Support
May Day.
this project.
May Day.
May Day.
That's
First, that's on a Friday.
That's just under a month from now. Today's the we're recording this on the 2nd. You might be watching it on the 3rd or 4th, but anyway, or later. You can pull it up anytime. Want to point out one really substantial thing that just happened yesterday, based on our recording on Thursday.
That was the 1st of April yesterday.
Yeah, April 1st. April Fool's Day, interesting day for the Supreme Court to be hearing the case to retain birthright citizenship and denying the President's executive order on January 20th, 2025, denying birthright citizenship, which is a constitutional requirement that anyone who was born on this soil of the United States, regardless of their parentage, even if their parents are on vacation, that baby is a citizen of the United States on that day. And it was designed to promote people who were visiting here, but also to make sure that anybody who had been enslaved or brought here as a slave against their will, mostly Africans, a large number also of Chinese people, certainly a lot of Native Americans might have been in that category. That's another category by itself too. Native Americans, really important to learn about that. But I wanted to just say that Elmer, for the first time in 250 years, a president of the United States sat in on the oral arguments before the United States Supreme Court. He sat in the front row with his Attorney General Pam Bondi and his Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick.
That's the attitude
to try to intimidate,
to try to become king.
To try to intimidate the justices of the Supreme Court of the United States into voting in his favor. But I'm pretty sure, and I'm hoping that history bears this out, that the Supreme Court will in fact make the right decision and uphold the Constitution in favor of the people, so that anybody that was born in the United States, me, Elmer, most of the people we know, we're citizens. We didn't have to take the citizen test. We didn't have to pass any.
We never count the beans in a jar.
Yeah, our parents didn't have to say, yes, I'm intending to stay here, I have domicile or anything. We were just automatically given citizenship, birthright citizenship, based on the 14th Amendment of the Constitution of the United States.
We look forward to see how that comes out.
Elmer.
Been great. I enjoyed it.
Man, you're good.
Thank you. Almost as good as you are.
Really?
You have experience in this, so you keep up with this. I'm scattered out over half a dozen different activities, and I get weak in one area and strong in the other, so we kind of balance this out as podcasters.
Yeah, I think we make a great team.
I think we are.
Yeah, thanks a lot, everybody. Subscribe, sign up. If you want to buy some hats, t-shirts, let us know.
We have one.
All right, thank you. See you next time.